Hi and welcome to my second part in Heroic Guides for the Tomb of Sargeras. And what this is all about is not raid strategies for your whole raid group to adopt. There's plenty of good guides out there for that. What this is about is you as an individual, what are the key mechanics that you need to be aware of and how you need to deal with them in order for the personal responsibility that is a hallmark of modern raiding. As such, it doesn't focus on every single mechanic, just the key ones that you need in order to bluff your way through the raid and convince everyone that you know what you're doing. So the first fight today is Mistress Sassz'ine. Most of this fight is a cycle between killing ads and dodging tornadoes with a few other considerations. When it comes to killing the ads, you may need to consider the AoE capabilities of your raid. The Abyss Stalkers drop a puddle when they die. Like most such puddles, you don't want to stand in it, but it does have a use. When the line of tornadoes spawns and moves across the room, any that pass over these green-black puddles will be consumed. As a result, you want to position yourself so that these puddles are between you and the tornadoes when they spawn. If you kill the ads too quickly, it is possible that the puddles will despawn before the tornadoes come in. This would be very bad and is one reason why some raid groups have to go easy on the ads. But similarly, if the ads don't die quickly enough, then you still have no puddles to create a gap in the line of tornadoes. Right from the start of the fight, you will notice that periodically you see a load of jellyfish rise up. If you linger in the circles that herald their coming, you get stunned, so move out. That is, of course, unless you have a murloc eating your face. This is called consuming hunger. If you stand in the thundering shock, which is the jellyfish spawn, then this removes them. So to be clear, move out of the thundering shock if you don't have a murloc eating your face, and stay in or move in if you do. In the last part of the fight, thundering shock stops happening, but murlocs may still try and eat your face. You'll just have to put up with them at this point. Hydra shot targets a random player on normal and several on heroic. It's important that these players move in a straight line away from the boss to make the green lines clear and the other people stand in the way to soak. The more people that are soaking them, the less damage you're going to take. One common error here is melee not moving out enough. This can mean that people don't see the line and so don't stand in it, or worse, that other melee are effectively in two at once and get one shot. This ability kills and yet is really simple to deal with. From phase 2 you'll sometimes see a wide band of disturbed water across the room. You will need to move out of this immediately as a very large fish is about to jump out of the water along this band. This ability will kill you if you hang about. There is nothing more to it, however, it's just something to move out of. Finally, you'll sometimes find yourself being sucked into a corner of the room from phase 2 in an ability called Devouring Maw. To stop this, soak the inky puddles around the room and then run into the maw. Don't run into the maw without having soaked a puddle first. When enough people have done this, the ability will end. And that's it for general important mechanics. Phase 3 gets very intense but just needs people to keep their heads while maintaining high DPS and of course high healing because of all the murlocs eating people's face that you can't get rid of. Sisters of the Moon consists of 3 distinct phases where you'll be attacking a different sister in each. There are quite a number of important mechanics on this fight. The most notable feature of the encounter is the waxing and waning of the lunar type cycle on the floor. One side is light and the other dark. Whichever one you stand in gives you a stacking debuff. To remove this debuff, all you have to do is move to the other side of the phase line. For highly mobile classes, you'll be able to do this often and keep your stacks low. If movement is very punishing for you, however, then don't worry as you can take quite a lot of stacks before it becomes a problem. When the floor becomes full with either light or dark, then other abilities happen. Glaive Storm fires off a large glaive across the room which then splits up into smaller ones. Avoid these by dodging them. They can do a fair amount of damage. Incorporeal Shot targets a player who will need to move so that people can stand in the way and absorb the shot to reduce the damage it does to the intended target. If this doesn't happen, it will kill them. Finally, Embrace of the Eclipse puts a healing absorb on everyone. To deal with this, everyone needs to group up on the active boss and healers should coordinate cooldowns and AoE healing to remove them as soon as possible. Once the absorb is removed or the timer is about to tick down, players need to scatter again as a volley will target a random ranged player almost immediately after, and you don't want those near the boss. From the start of the fight, random players will find themselves targeted by Twilight Glaive. This player should move to minimise the portion of the room that the glaive will pass through to reduce the avoidance needed from the raid. The glaive will pass out from them and back again. Twilight Volley targets ranged players and leaves a zone behind that you need to move out of. Avoid having ranged players near the boss, except during Embrace of the Eclipse, to prevent this being a major issue. In phase 2, some players will be targeted with Rapid Shot. This does quite a lot of damage. Owls will spawn, which will contact on the boss, just passively cleave to begin with, and then switch to focusing down the owl when it gets to low health. If you get hit with Moonburn, then change phase to get rid of it. When Embrace of the Eclipse is active, the second phase boss will also get an absorb shield which DPS will need to break quickly. In phase 3, players will sometimes be targeted with Lunar Beacon. These players need to move away from the rage to the edge of the room. This phase is a big DPS race and some groups save heroism for it. It all gets a bit hectic, but just focus on dealing with the mechanics without panicking and it'll all be good. Finally, Desolate Host is a boss where the raid will be split in two and operate in two distinct zones. If you are assigned to the Spirit Realm, you should click a brazier at the side of the room to go in before the fight starts. You should also position yourself spread out on the left of the room. People not going into the Spirit Realm should be spread on the right hand side of the room. You should be nicely spread to avoid lots of damage from Dissonance. This is an ability that deals AoE damage if players are too close to each other and works across the realms. If you get Soulbound cast on you, you need to move to the prearranged spot because you're linked with someone in the other realm. This will generally be round about the middle of the room. You won't drop the ability until you both meet, but it does a fair amount of damage and you want to remove it quickly. In the Spirit Realm, you should focus on the Soul Queen and cleave the adds. One of the adds casts Shattering Scream. This can be interrupted, but don't do this if there are adds up with Bone Cage armor in the normal realm. People need to communicate across the realms as it isn't easy to see. If you get Shattering Screams on while Bone Cage armor is active on the normal realm adds, move to where they are before your stacks reach 5. You can faintly see the adds as having rings around them, but only when you get close to them. When your Shattering Scream expires, which it does after 5, it deals AoE damage which will break the Bone Cage armor if you are in range. This is an extremely important mechanic to get right. At various points, the Soul Queen will channel Wailing Souls. A couple of seconds before this is cast, you should click a brazier and move into the normal realm. Everyone except the tank and one designated healer. This channel does a massive amount of damage and lasts for a minute. Once in the normal realm, you can DPS the boss and adds there, but try and move yourself to the right hand side of the room to not be close to the tank and healer that were left behind in the Spirit Realm. The reason the tank and healer have to remain behind is because you must always have at least one person in each realm at all times. When the channel ends, you can go back into the Spirit Realm. Note that if you get a debuff called Spirit Chains on you, you won't be able to change realms. This can be dispelled, but also abilities that remove movement impairing effects such as Blessing of Freedom will also work. Don't have this debuff on you in the Spirit Realm if Wailing Souls is about to be cast. That would be quite bad. If you were assigned to the normal role from the start, you have another few mechanics to worry about. The adds will be tanked at the engine, but especially as melee, be careful to stand as far to the right of these adds as possible. Remember that someone from the Spirit Realm will move to them with Shattering Scream to remove the Bone Cage armor, and you'll wreck each other with Dissonance if you stand where they need to. The Bone Cage armor means that the adds take almost no damage, so it's in your interest that it gets broken quickly. You may be targeted by Tormenting Cries. This will spawn a cone towards you and so needs baiting to the right hand side of the room, preferably behind the engine. Don't drop it across the middle of the room. Anyone that is stood in this zone is silenced for the duration that they are stood in it, so moving it out of the way is in everyone's interest. You may also have a Spear of Anguish cast on you. This will knock you back and it's easy to get knocked off the platform if you don't have something solid behind you. You get 6 seconds to move yourself somewhere suitable and don't be within 5 yards of another player. Getting hit by this will put a healing absorb on you and throw you into the Spirit Realm. You won't be able to leave until the absorb is healed off. The Soul Queen and Engine of Souls share a common health pool. When they reach 30%, the Desolate Host spawns in. Still keep DPS in the Soul Queen and Engine as appropriate. You need to kill them as soon as possible to put an end to their mechanics. The new mechanic with Desolate Host is Sundering Doom and Doomed Sundering. One of them needs soaking by the normal realm while the Spirit Realm moves away. The other needs soaking by the Spirit Realm while the normal realm moves away. There's no point remembering which ability is which, as they are deliberately too similar in name. However, the circle tells you which is which. If the purple circle is faint with a distinct outline, then you need to soak it. If it looks like a solid swirly, then you need to move away. Recognising which circle is which makes it easy to know when to soak and when to move away. If you accidentally soak when you should move out and you survive, you will find yourself in the opposite realm. Just move back in by clicking a brazier. And that's the Desolate Host and the middle portion of this guide. In part 3, I'll be covering the final 3 bosses. I hope you enjoyed this. If you've got any further questions, ask below. If you did like the video, don't forget to subscribe for further content. And until next time, I'll see you later.